everybody, Cindy A. Lewis here. Welcome to my channel. So glad to have you join me for this video tutorial. We're going to be putting the hardware on, putting the hardware on this cover for this particular junk journal. We're only going to do one. I have 3 that I'm working on, so I may or may not share how I do those because they're all similar, but yet they could be different. So that makes sense. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you will subscribe below. That would be great. If you can like the video, that would be also great. Thank you so much for your support and watching these videos. Also, I do want to let you know that I am doing a big, huge giveaway of a junk journal kit, and it's a whole thing. Like, we're celebrating my Patreon membership with a year, and for every new Patreon member that joins that platform connected for me, I will add another element to the junk journal kit giveaway on both platforms, not only on this YouTube channel, but also on my platform on Patreon. So there's lots of fun things there, lots of benefits, a little community of its own. And I hope you'll check it out. Anyways, that's all linked below. Plus the video to enter the May giveaway is linked below. So make sure you go to that May 1st video to enter, and that link is below. So anyway, let's get started on covering this journal, putting the hardware on this journal. And I am going to add a cover to the fabric. So it is going to be a little bit different than you saw in the last video. So we're going to add some more to it. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get going. Okay, so for this journal, I have 3 going right now. We covered them in a video yesterday. This one is the one I'm going to work on right now. It is going to be more mermaid style. I may do 2. I don't know. We'll see. But I really love that the mermaids are on this fabric as part of that cover. We have a ring fastener that we're going to put on the spine. We have a frame where we're going to put in well, actually, I'm going to show you. We're going to use a dictionary word, ocean, and we're going to slide that in there. So that'll be really cool. Then there's 4 metal book corners that we're going to put on each corner. So we're going to use that. We need the 2 brads for this. And then before we do that, we're actually going to put some paper. We're going to glue some paper down. I actually like this greenish color paper. So I think we're going to use this. Is from the Ocean scrapbook paper. And then I'm going to mat it with a black piece to kind of set it off. And then they have a cool sticker in this set of papers that I got called Mermaid's Tail. And this is the big sticker that was on it. So I thought that would be pretty to put on the front here. On the back, I'm going to leave this just fabric. I'm not going to put any paper on there. So this book for this journal measures to be about 5.5 or so by 8, a little more than 8.5. So right at 5.5 by 8.5. So I'm going to cover this front, and I'm going to take into consideration this spine. So I do want to make sure you realize that this hinge right here where the book folds is about 5 1/4. So it takes 1/4 off of that. Then I do have my awl here. I have some needle nose pliers, some scissors, my glue, and I'm going to use my trimmer to trim the paper. Now, I am going to cut my mat with the black to be about 5 inches by 8 inches. We're going to make that work. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mat and glue the paper on with that big sticker first. Then we'll add the hardware. I've trimmed my papers, so and I went ahead and put the sticker on there, and I did pick the little bit lighter green color just because of the matching with the papers and the fabric. I just didn't want it to clash. So I looked at it again and I thought this lighter color might be better. So I left a little space here at the top, you can see, and that's where I'm going to put that frame so that the word ocean can be displayed up here like this. So it'll be at the top instead of like in the middle. Now, this will go on here like this. And then we'll put this here like that. Sometimes the order you do things on a junk journal is really important when you're doing this kind of layering. So the first thing that I want to do now is get this glued down, because I'm going to be doing some other work on top of it, basically. So I'm just going to use this same glue, and I'm going to glue it down, but I want to make sure I get all the way to the corners, and I want to make sure it is very sturdy. Now, this is the best glue for that, I think, but there's a lot of other glues too that work brilliantly. So we're just going to put this, and you just put it how you want it to look. I'm going to move it up a little bit like that. And this will adhere really nicely. And I think that'll look pretty on there. Always be yourself, unless you can be a mermaid. Then always be a mermaid. So I think that's cute. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and determine where we want this ring fastener. Now, it is affected by where you sew in your signatures. And your signatures are your papers that you put together, and they will be what you journal on and what you memory on and everything like that. So this will go, you want to make sure it's not interfering with where you're going to be sewing. So if you put it up higher, then you just make sure that you sew your signatures in a little bit lower. Also, unless you're doing a hidden spine, which you wouldn't see the threads at all, you would sew them into some book cloth and then glue the book cloth in, which is pretty easy too, you know, speaking. So when you're going to put in your ring fastener, you just want to look at the width of your spine, which this is about 1 inch and, well, really about 1 inch and 1/8, not even a real quarter. So if you're going to go about 5/8 maybe to be the middle of your spine, then you could mark that. So we'll just say, I'm just going to use this, and we're going to punch it out anyway. So this is a 1/2 inch, so 5/8. Let's just see. That looks pretty good. So we'll just put a little light dot there. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'll hold it up. That looks like a really good spot right there. See, I don't know if you can see really good, but all right. So I can do a couple different things. I can use an awl and punch through it like this. I can use my crocodile and punch through it as well. So let me show you. You can use a hole punch, but a crocodile is really strong. It has a couple of different sizes. This is 1/8. This is 3/16. I wouldn't even need the 3/16. That's rather large, but the 1/8 would be okay to make that hole. But you can also use an awl, and the awl will just punch through that. So what I use a lot of times is some of my book papers that I gutted out of my books to punch onto, and you can just stick it through, and it'll go through, and it'll hit into your paper that way. I think for this particular one, I'm just going to use my crocodile. Right here, I don't know if you can see, but right here is the hole. See if I'll pull it up here so you can see. Right there's the hole. And so I just line up this little mark with that hole, and then I can punch it out. So then you have a nice clean punch there. And I could have done that with my awl, but I didn't have to use very much muscle on that, so that's kind of nice. So what I want to do here is I'm going to put some glue around the hole and then on the inside, because I want to make sure that this doesn't come out, but it is a brad. So I'll stick that through that hole like that. And then I want to make sure it's tight. And then we'll close that brad. So let's see, which way do I want to do it? Doesn't matter. Okay, so this one is kind of long, this brad. So I may have to snip that off or turn it. Let's see, if I turn it, it'll go this way. Let's see if that looks okay. Yeah, that's all right. So we could just turn it and then let's see if that interferes with it closing, opening. Yeah, so sometimes you just got to play with it. So this will have a cover on it, so you won't see that. I'm going to put some book cloth there. So I'm just going to snip that off because it is rather long and I don't want that on there. And I'm just going to use some cutters and cut that off. There we go. And it shot across the room, I think. I don't know where it went, but we'll look for it later. All right, so this will glue, that will stay in, and that will be nice for the tassel and the charm right there. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is we want to find out where we want the frame, and it's just going to go about right here. I'm going to check out what the middle is and then put in a little bit of a mark there so that I know where that's going to go. And so we're going to work with this frame here with the matting and layering, and just see the width of that is about 5 inches. So the middle is right here at 2.5. So then this, it measures at about 2 3/4. So I think we're good to put it about right there. Okay. So then what you want to do is you want to make sure that it looks even, and sometimes you have to step back and just look at it. Say, okay, does that look like it's just how you want it? And then just take like a pencil, and I'm just gonna put a mark there, just so I know where I want those holes. And then I'm gonna punch those holes out. Again, I can do it with my awl and just punch through, or I can use my crocodile, and I'm just gonna use my crocodile. It's a lot easier. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, there are my 2 holes for my frame. Now, one thing that I will do is I will put glue when I put my brads through, but I also want to put some glue on here. Now, this frame allows me to slide something in because it fits just right. And I am going to use this ocean word from this dictionary library series. This is from Amazon. And I'm going to cut off, I believe it's under something, so it'll slide in there just like that. Okay, and you'll see most of it. But what I want to do is give it a little bit of vintage look. And I know I said I wasn't going to vintagize it, but I just want to give this a little bit of an aged look. Let me cut this. I'm just going to cut this. Okay. And then I just want to go around it a little bit. I'm going to let whoever gets this journal to do it how they want, but it's still cool to have kind of an aged look, right? Don't you think? I think so. Okay, now I am not going to glue that in just because in case somebody wants to change it, put their name on it or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to put a little glue around the edges just to help hold this in place like this. Okay, and not a whole lot of glue, just a little. And then I'm going to put some glue around those holes so that when I put the brads through, they'll have that glue there. There we go, lining those up. And then I'm going to put a little glue on this side too. Just a little, just something to hold it in place. Now you could use your tacky glue also. So I'm just putting these in. See how pretty that looks? And then we're going to go ahead and do some brad opening here just to make sure it stays. And there we go. That looks really pretty. Okay, then I want to put a little glue around here. And all this will be covered up. Okay, so we're going to let that set a minute, and we're just going to slide this ocean in here. Let's see, it might be too wide. I have to just trim that a bit. Okay, we've got ocean, and oh, I love it. I love it. It's looking so good. Okay, so everything is going to be hidden on the inside here. Now, one thing with the book corners, now I started to put those on tonight, and I think I might wait till I'm ready to cover the inside of the journal, because I don't want to affect how this is going to, like affect the insides. Now, sometimes it won't, but you'll slide these on like this, and sometimes it'll come over the paper that you put on the inside. So we just want to make sure that we don't do that. So I'm just going to expand this video just a little bit and go ahead and put some fabric here to help stabilize and make the spine a little stronger, and then give some movement to allow it to move. All right, so we're adding a little something to this video. So this is some of like stretchy cloth, and I honestly don't remember where I got it, so sorry about that. But it's in my stash in there, and I thought this is better than some heavy fabric, and it still provides that stretchiness. But anyway, it will suffice. So I'm just measuring it because I want it to be right up here at the top, but not show over, right? I want it to fit inside where the spine goes. And then I want it to be about 1.5 inches on either side. So I've measured this 1.5 inches here. So I want it to be 1.5 inches here. So I measured this. I'm just going to take my ruler, and I'm just going to draw a line there so that I know where I want my, where I want it to cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to cut this, and then we're going to glue it down. So I suggest putting some kind of something in there. You could put paper, but paper sometimes will tear, and you don't really want that tear. You want it to be stretchy, and so fabric is better. All right, so we've got this here. I'm gonna make sure you can see. Okay. So we want it to be about 1.5 inches on either side. We're going to make sure we're in the spine. And then you want to make sure you're not over down here. So this looks like it is just going to fit. So we want to make sure that it doesn't like go outside of it. So we're just going to take some of the glue and spread it in here. And I am going to just use my finger. So I want to spread it pretty good and flat, and make sure it covers the whole thing. All right, so then we're going to take this fabric, this little piece of cloth, and we're going to push it in the center there, because we want it to glue down. And you can see I've got a little overlap down here. So I want to make sure I can cut that off. So let me do that real quick, because I don't want that hanging out. Now, if I hadn't have closed glued down my spine little flaps for my spine, then it wouldn't, I could cover it with that, but I already did that yesterday. All right, so now I'm gonna glue, and you wanna make sure it goes into that hinge, if you will, and you wanna make sure you get it all the way glued down. So again, just using my finger to spread that. And then this again, this will also be covered up, but it will give that finished look. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. And we're going to put that glue in there. Okay. We want to make sure that whoever is using and loving this journal will enjoy it for a long time. We don't want it to fall apart on them, right? Okay, so we want to make sure we've got that all good. All right, so then you can see that's going to bend, and that's going to work great. And then when you put sew your signatures in, it'll sew into that. It'll be perfect. So this is the first one. We're going to wait to put our book corners, our metal book corners on till we've covered the inside of the journal. But I wanted to give you the first look at the very first one. So I'm excited about this one. I've got to work on the other ones, but I hope you enjoyed this and got some inspiration, and I will talk to you again soon. Don't forget to enter the May giveaway.